Well, thank you for joining us today, Marina. Anybody who's not familiar with Marina, she does work at L'Oreal, has been with the company for just under a decade at this point. Her role has taken her halfway across the globe, and she has a ton of experience, ton of knowledge that she wants to share with us today. First and foremost, as we're talking about customer experience, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, in your recent experience as a consumer, is there anything that you maybe can point to recently, an experience that you had that was either negative or positive, or maybe even a brand that you think is doing an amazing job when it comes to consumer experience that you want to highlight?
Okay. As a consumer, people like to complain. That's what we see in the rating and review trends. It's very rare when people say, oh yeah, it's so amazing, but when I want to complain, I probably will spend a lot of energy on this. So that's the part of our consumer experience journey. But answering your question, I love spontaneous shopping, so I usually order everything last minute. So for me, the speed of delivery, it's always a big drama, because especially during holidays, when you're trying to order some gifts or travel kits or something and it's not arriving on time. So usually that's where I feel very frustrated. And other than that, I feel that there are so many beautiful experiences online and offline. And if you have time and mental capacity to just enjoy it, I feel it's nice. But when you're in a rush, the efficiency and the speed is always something that I appreciate. But that's my experience. I was always in a rush, living in New York City, trying to just juggle a lot of things. So to me, I feel that's the most important thing. How about you?
Oh, great question for me. Actually, while you say that, I think obviously too, anything that's free shipping also helps as well, right? So I would actually say a recent experience I had while Christmas shopping is going out and buying a gift for 3 people, and it was kind of the same gift, and then trying to ship it to 3 different people. I had to go in and check out 3 different times rather than being able to ship it to 3 people individually. So that was something that recently was a pain point for myself of oh, wouldn't it be a great, easy solution to just be able to ship these items to 3 different places and not have to repurchase?
So basically you did check out 3 times and purchase it 3 times instead of 1. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting
luckily,
insight.
my credit card details are shared there, so that step was a little easier.
Yes.
But everything else was a little bit more difficult. Obviously, as we talk about this topic today, I think one of the first things that we should probably talk about is the digital shelf. How has that evolved over the last few years, last few months, from your experience, especially as consumers' behaviors change in terms of maybe where they're going to research a product and where they're going to buy a product varies? Is there any insight that you can maybe share there?
Yes, I love this topic, and I see my team here, so they always know how I start this conversation, and I always start thinking about brick and mortar first. And I love to ask this question: do you guys think that digital shelf is eternal or not? Raise the hands who think it's eternal.
Okay. I feel there might be some confusion. Can you
a long aisle when it comes to the amount of assortment. Do you guys think that it's multiple choices and you can put whatever amount of products you want? Yes, I feel that everybody thinks that, and that's true at some point. But the thing is that our consumer behavior is not working the same way. And since the rise of social media, our attention span is so small, 2 seconds, and then we're losing our consumer. And I think that Instagram and TikTok did it even worse, because now it's the game of customer experience, and every marketer who works in e-commerce is to how to gain this attention, how to make sure that we're driving visibility through the right content. And it also relates not only to shoppers, but also how the algorithm works. So I think that's the biggest trend and the biggest challenge for us, how to make sure that we are merchandising all the websites, is it direct-to-consumer or retail website, in the right way, and how we're making sure that we're the first page. And when it comes to desktop experience, we're thinking about probably 20 products in the first page, but when we're thinking about mobile, it's 4 products that we usually see, and nobody's scrolling until the very end of the category. So the competition is becoming so important, and it's becoming more and more competitive when we think about that. And there are 2 big players here. One is our shopper, consumer, and then another one is retailer, who is actually establishing the right way they think the algorithm should work. So we need to work in two dimensions. One, how we're servicing the algorithm, and another one, how we're servicing our shoppers and consumers with the right content. So I think that's the biggest challenge and the biggest insight, because nowadays that's becoming a huge competition, and the focus on all digital merchandising teams, customer experience teams, to make sure that this content is correct for both algorithms and people.
Excellent, thanks for that. In terms of individuals having an experience in a store and individuals having an experience online, we understand that a lot of consumers are, touching multiple touch points to get there. Is there anything that you can maybe talk about, like the in-store experience and how that might dictate somebody buying something online, or the reverse of that, somebody, looking at something online and going into a store, maybe talking about the conversion or the influence between the two and how they play a role?
Right now, like our data shows that half of the shoppers, they prefer to shop in both channels, like online and offline. So we see that the seamless journeys are becoming more and more important. And on top of that, there is a challenge of like making a seamless journey between offline and online, but also the shopper itself becoming more and more sophisticated. So we are thinking about education, entertainment, new experiences offline and online. So all of that dictates the industry trends around like creating an experience and making sure that based on data and based on all the knowledge that we have, we're creating those seamless journeys. And answering your question about trends, I feel that nowadays there is no concrete user journey, because we all start in different touch points. And if think even deeper than retail and the lower funnel of like the marketing journey, it starts even in the awareness stage when we think about retail media, when we think about social media, when you can shop. So it's becoming more and more complex in terms of the variety of different scenarios that we need to think about as marketers, and then implemented them in different campaigns. So I feel that the biggest trend is personalization, and it starts from media, where you can do that easier due to the capabilities of media, but also when it comes to different touch points, retailer platforms, and different shoppers, this personalization is also becoming more important, and it lands on your product pages, your content, the way how you work with different shoppers across your retail channels, your direct-to-consumer business. So that's, I feel, the biggest shift. We need to become more personalized. We need to make sure that our content is authentic, and this authenticity drives conversion and sales. Because if you're very generic, if you're saying the same message and this message is not properly carved to your audience, then you could also lose the traffic, conversion, and the right person who will be interested in your product. And with that being said, it's becoming more challenging, because in this case, you need to create multiple scenarios how to say the same message to different shoppers and make sure that they're interested in your product.
And on that note, talking about different consumers, different retailers, and things of such, how do you as a marketer kind of navigate dealing with multiple retailers that have different algorithms when it comes to finding your products, still utilizing some sort of personalization, but then also realizing the consumer journey might be slightly different, or the consumer experience rather might be slightly different from one retailer to the next? How are you able to navigate that personalization with your own brand and algorithms and different experiences?
Well, that's the biggest challenge. I don't know how many consumer brands are here today, but probably a lot. So that's the industry challenge that we are facing, how to make sure that in terms of the brand and the brand identity, we're still having one consistent message across the platforms, because the history of brand, and it's all about repeating the same story over and over again, and that's how you build brand awareness, that's how you actually establish in the brand. But then on the other side, in this performance world, in this fragmented personalization world, we also need to consider this new trend, which is quite the opposite of all the branding that we built in the past, and how these two can work together, and how you can create this journey for your consumers in multiple scenarios, but then talking the same language. And then we also have a technological challenge, I would say, because all the platforms, they require different types of content, in terms of messaging, in terms of specification, like all the different tech solutions that we work with, or like retail platforms, they are asking different formats, design, and whatever. So there are three different challenges, and when you're a brand, I feel that you're feeling a lot of pressure to ensure that you can execute it fast, because then on the other side you have multiple scenarios, but then you need to move fast because go-to-market speed is becoming also very important. And in that case, you always need to think about multiple components in your operational journey. And I think that this term, which is called connected commerce, now it really resonates with me, because it's not only about connectivity in terms of like omni-channel consumer environment, but also connectivity in terms of our industry, like how to create this connected commerce when we, like as like manufacturers, retailers, tech solutions, how we talk to each other to make sure that we are bringing together all the insights, and then we can create one smooth solution to serve our customers. Then in terms of the consumer journeys, how we create those seamless experiences between offline and online. And then another component is how we can marry people and tech to make sure that those two also work together, because all of that creates the experience and the collaboration between different vendors, different industry players, tech, and people. That would be the answer. But I feel that we're still in this journey where we're trying to figure out all together how to unlock this complexity, because the more we're growing, the more the industry is growing, and the more data we have in hand, the more challenging it's becoming for everyone. And the challenge is the speed, the quality of work, and then the amount of information that we have and how we can interpret it to make something meaningful together.
You're talking about data and speed, yes, and tech and consumers. I feel like the obvious next question is, going to be about AI. How are you using AI to capture that data, to better understand your consumers, their behaviors, put them into different cohorts, things like that? And how do you see, how are you using that now? And how do you see yourself using it in the future when it comes to, e-commerce and the digital shelf?
Remind me, when ChatGPT launched was December 2022, right? So 2 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds.
Feels life changed so fast since then. I personally use ChatGPT every day. What about you? Yeah, feel that everybody does that right now. It's like my best friend. I think I'm messaging more often with ChatGPT than people nowadays. But answering your question, I feel that everything changed since then. And now thinking how we use AI is just operational efficiency that we personally use for ourselves, and a lot of companies does the same. A lot of companies, they develop their own AI solutions based on their own data. In terms of the customer experience, I feel that there are so many tools that are already adopted by a lot of vendors, retailers, manufacturers. I think that since it started from GPT model and language-based optimization, that's something important, and that's what we see, translations, content optimization for different formats, different retailers, social media formats. That's already helps a lot, especially when you think about your assortment of 10,000 products that you need to optimize for 5-6 different retailers. That's where AI actually helps, because before that you would still rely on people, and that takes a lot of time. But then this work is very operational, and this is something that you can't delegate to the algorithm or to AI, because it doesn't require a lot of intellectual work when the AI already established, so that you can do it and repeat it over and over again. Visuals, content creation, it's also depends on which brand you are. I know a lot of brands, they're optimizing their budgets in terms of content creation with AI. We don't do that, because that's part of our journey at L'Oreal, that we use real people, real models. But if it's some other way, that other business that do that, that's also I feel a lot of industry peers will agree that it's helpful. Efficiency and work processes, that's something where we see a lot of interesting solutions. Also augmented reality, virtual assistants. That's also helpful, and we also launched some on our editorial websites. I know that a lot of retail partners, they do the same and launching their solutions on their websites, which is also very helpful and create a lot of interesting seamless journeys again, like especially if it's offline and online. So we feel a lot of interesting solutions and like a lot of value in this, and we'll see how it's going to develop in the future, because again, it's the very beginning of the journey, and we're all excited. It takes a lot of time to establish those things actually, and sometimes you feel it's so easy, but in the end it takes a lot of effort and teamwork to make sure that this AI works for you specifically. So it's a new tool, and we're still trying to figure out what is valuable, what is not that valuable, and how it's going to be incorporated in our ways of work. But one thing that I really believe that it's going to help personalization, because as we know, there are so many fragmented customer experiences, user journeys. So that creates a lot of different variations of ways of work. And the hope is that the AI will help to bridge this gap between like all the data sets that now exist and we're trying to absorb with our human mind, and then probably like AI will help us to do that with less amount of time.
Always good to have things streamlined and right in your face, right? Last question that I do have for you is in terms of your retail partners, the emergence of retail media networks. How do you foresee that shaping, you as a marketer? What do you see that looking like in the future for brands advertising, on a partner website, but they have their own retail media network?
I feel now like it's an interesting story with retail media, because you literally can service like products themselves and PDPs through retail media networks, and it also creates a very interesting way of considering this as a part of user journey and marketing funnel. So with that being said, like I feel that retail media is changing our like the funnel completely, because now you can like do a sponsor products on your retail pages, and like it's already like the question is like which budget is that, because like in the past you had your media budget and then you spend it to all your media, and now like a lot of people, they struggle like how we can split the budget between awareness and retail, and what does it matter, and like who needs to do that, and also like what should be the right healthy split. So I think that it's still something that everybody is personally trying to figure out within their companies. But like answering the question about this, the landscape and how it's going to be changed, I feel that budget first, like, and like just the understanding of where this like what is the source that, and like what's the financials behind retail media, and like how we're gonna optimize our budgets within the company. Because again, I know that the budgets in retail media space are growing, but then the question is, what are you sacrificing? Because it's probably not an incremental budget for us, right? It's something that we need to allocate from one place to another in our P&L. So from where it's coming, and like where you sacrifice, and like why you spend more on retail media. So I feel that for a lot of brands, that's the first question, like financials and like P&L strategy behind it, and like what's the value. And then when it comes to the landscape itself, it's also interesting to see that there are so many new solutions that are developing based on that, different formats. And then again, personalization that we just discussed recently. I feel that like in terms of execution of retail media, that's going to be an interesting way where the industry will see maybe more innovations. And another thing that I believe will be a huge trend, it's using the voice instead of using the visual, because now with a prompt-based search, and just in general, the way how ChatGPT and a lot of AI are switching our consumer behavior from typing to actually asking AI and AI agents to find us something, that's where I believe retail media could potentially also have this new twist using the voice search or maybe some voice solutions that will help to find the right product.
Thank you for that. Second time that was brought up today.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Does anybody have any questions for Marina?
Great job, Karlyn and Marina. Really enjoyed the conversation. So in a SKU proliferate business like beauty care, Marina, a question, you talked about digital shelves being eternal. So online on your digital shelf, you can have tens of thousands of SKUs, but there's SKU rationalization always going on with your retail partners. And you said 50% of your consumers shop both online and in store. There's a disconnect there if you can't find that same SKU in store. I'm like, how do you deal with that? The fact that in-store brick and mortar is very limited and you have so many thousands of SKUs.
That's actually a good question, and depends on the type of the brand. The answer can be different. So, like, I would say that for L'Oreal, we're like trying to be like nationwide, national distribution, all the assortment, both offline and online. So, like, I don't see that we have this challenge, but I would say that if you're a selective brand and you are you have your products in a very limited amount of stores offline, and then you have your assortment, like the whole assortment online. It could also be like an interesting way how to use the scarcity or like limitness of your products within one channels to drive traffic to another one. So I would say that here you just need to be creative and like use all your marketing skills to create a story behind that. And if you have a limitation, just like think about that from a perspective of a story and a narrative that you can tell as a marketer.
Anyone else with questions here?
Thanks. Excuse me. How do you connect with the social team and like make sure that all that's going on with like live shopping and TikTok Live and all the different social is just kind of running the way?
I'm just looking at Francesca because she's in our team and that's exactly what she does. That's a good question. I think that the connectivity, as we discussed, it's important, and like people component and everything we do, especially in the big corporate, it's important. How we can create one consistent teamwork when it comes especially to social commerce and e-commerce. And historically those teams, they like, especially in the big world of like media and brand engagement and e-commerce, they probably didn't speak to each other in the past, but now it's becoming more and more important. So that's still a process and operational challenge that everybody is trying to figure out themselves. It's not that easy, and it's not because people, they don't like to collaborate. It's because the ways of work and the processes are brand new, and we need to establish them and figure out together. So I would say that everybody in their own journey in this, the need is there, but like in terms of the answer, we're still all trying to figure it out, and we're happy to learn from you and share more about that or just discuss if there are any solutions in the market that will help to bridge the gap. But I know that there is a lot of excitement, and everybody is willing to learn from each other. It's just like very beginning of the journey. How about you? do you have this challenge? Okay, let's talk later. Great, amazing. Yeah, Francesca, let's discuss.
Any other questions here? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Karlyn
you.
and Marina, this was great. This is a round of applause here.